A lot can happen in a short amount of time, your entire life potentially changing in the blink of an eye. Like, say, the fleeting Summer's End chance encounter that brought Anyang and Kang Sui together. One born and raised in a metropolis, while the other had never left her home village, barely familiar with the outside world. They couldn't possibly be more different, but even though school is out for summer, there are still lessons to learn. Lessons, worshipping, and sacrificial activities. Don't worry, it's all both legal and harmless. Aside from the potential back strain from carrying all that food for the gods. But that is also part of why Anyang opted to tag along with her parents when they returned to the home village. No ulterior motives or anything, she is just a kind, good natured teenager. Before we get into the story of what happened that fateful summer, I should note how I used a fan translation to play the game since my Chinese knowledge is non existent. I haven't actually reviewed a non English game before, and honestly, I never expected to, but so many things about this just looked so darn appealing. It's short, cute, queer, and likely in no small part due to the language barrier, relatively unknown. Is it perfect though? A hidden gem perhaps? No, not really. Although, is anything? No, not really. But there is a lot more to this story than one might expect from its 2 hour runtime. While there is some semblance of gameplay, these sections mainly consist of a few brief minigames sprinkled throughout what is otherwise more akin to a visual novel. Given the relatively short time Anyang and Kang Sui have together, something also hinted at by the name of the game, the relatively brisk pace actually makes sense. Even so, I would have liked if certain scenes had been given just a bit more room to breathe, but maybe that's just because of how much I enjoyed my time with the characters. While the main attraction is their journey and experiences, the memories they make during are actually, on some level, tied to those that came before them. These aspects, the worshipping and sacrificial rituals, are presented with a lovely attention to detail. I was actually pleasantly surprised at just how fascinating both Tutu and Chinese culture is. But while that does add to the game, the two leads are still the focus, and the ever present push and pull between them does a lot to not only define them as individuals, but also give story beats some additional weight. Like how Anyang is clearly someone from a big city, bursting with energy and extrovertedness, someone with plans and ideas, always putting others before herself. Kang Sui, on the other hand, was raised on traditional values, and it shows, both in good and bad. In other words, it's not all fun and games, as the writer is not afraid to let heavy topics breach the surface from time to time. Thankfully, this never happens in a way that feels out of place, or like the sole reason is to simply stir the pot. But sometimes, a pinch of salt actually makes the sugar even sweeter, you know? While Fleeting Summer's End is far from the biggest emotional roller coaster, it is still a bumpy road for Anyang and Kang Sui. But why? What happens? Well, now that's for me to know and you to find out by picking up a copy of the game and, unless you're well versed in Chinese, the translation patch. Thank you very much for watching.